The village of Nijhumpur was a place where twilight seemed to stretch forever. Even during the brightest afternoons, the dense bamboo groves and ancient banyan trees cast long, suffocating shadows over the dirt roads. It was here that a family from the city bought a massive, century-old wooden mansion for a surprisingly cheap price. The family consisted of a young couple and their 2 children, Tuli, a mature 9-year-old girl, and her mischievous 7-year-old brother, Rafi. The moment Tuli stepped through the threshold of the house, a sickening odor hit her nose. It smelled like raw meat rotting under heavy layers of incense, trying desperately to mask the stench. Rafi, oblivious to the dread hanging in the air, pointed his tiny finger toward a narrow, spiraling wooden staircase leading to the very top of the house. "Look, Didi, sister. There's a tiny room up there. Let's go explore." Their mother immediately forbade them from going up. The attic door was heavily chained and secured with a rusted, oversized iron padlock. The previous owner had warned them never to touch it. But to a child's mind, a locked door is an open invitation. A violent thunderstorm tore through the village. Lightning ripped across the sky, and with a sudden zap, the electricity went out. The house plunged into pitch-black darkness. Downstairs in the kitchen, their parents were fumbling around, trying to light a candle. Upstairs, Tuli and Rafi were huddled together when they heard it. Scratch, drag, scratch. It was the sound of something heavy being dragged across the wooden floorboards directly above them in the attic. And then came the laughter. It wasn't the sweet giggle of a child, it was a raspy, guttural, deep wheeze that sounded like an old man trying to mimic a baby. Rafi's small hand gripped Tuli's arm so tightly his knuckles turned white. "Didi, who is laughing up there?" Trying to be brave for her little brother, Tuli whispered. "Maybe a stray cat got trapped. Let's look." Armed with a single flickering flashlight, the siblings crept up the creaking spiral stairs. When they reached the top, Tuli's heart stopped. The heavy iron chains were shattered on the floor, and the attic door was standing ajar. A freezing, unnatural draft blasted out of the room, making the hair on their arms stand on end. Tuli flashed the beam of light into the damp room. In the farthest corner sat an old, decayed wooden trunk. Its lid was wide open. Sitting inside was a clay doll. The doll wore a filthy, blood-stained, frilly dress. But its face was pure nightmare fuel. Its eyes weren't made of glass or plastic. They looked like real, glassy human eyes ripped from a corpse and forcefully socketed into the clay. A wide, carved, jagged smile stretched across its face from ear to ear. Rafi seemed instantly hypnotized by the doll. Before Tuli could scream at him to stop, he snatched it from the trunk. For the rest of the evening, he refused to let it go. At exactly midnight, Tuli woke up with a jolt. The air in the bedroom was so freezing that her breath formed mist in the dark. She reached out to her side, but Rafi's bed was empty. She switched on the flashlight and scanned the room. When the beam hit the corner of the wall, a gasp caught in her throat. Rafi was sitting on the floor, facing the corner, his back to her. The clay doll was placed right in front of him. But Rafi wasn't speaking in his usual voice. He was whispering, and the doll's head had snapped a full 180 degrees backward, staring directly at Rafi with those horrific human eyes. "Rafi." Tuli trembled, her voice cracking. "Come back to bed. It's late." Slowly, stiffly, Rafi turned his head toward Tuli. When the flashlight illuminated his face, Tuli wanted to scream, but no sound came out. Rafi's pupils and irises were completely gone. His eyes were entirely milk white. When he opened his mouth, it wasn't a 7-year-old's voice that came out. It was the heavy, raspy, ancient voice from the attic. "He is playing with me now, Tuli. Do you want to play too? You have such beautiful, bright eyes, they would look perfect on my next doll." Tuli turned to sprint for the door, but it slammed shut with a deafening thud before she could touch the handle. The lock clicked on its own. Suddenly, a foul, black, tar-like liquid began to ooze from underneath the bed and bubble up from the floorboards. The stench of rotting meat filled the room, suffocating her. From the shadow on the wall, a grotesque silhouette detached itself. The shadow had unnaturally elongated limbs, with fingers ending in razor-sharp claws. It hovered over Rafi, and the little boy began to convulse violently, blood trickling from his nose and ears as his life force was being drained. Tuli realized that the doll was a vessel for a demonic, malevolent spirit that inhabited this cursed house, and it was taking over her brother's body. Desperate and terrified, she looked around, grabbed a heavy iron desk lamp and lunged forward, smashing it directly onto the clay doll. Crack! The doll's clay cheek fractured, splitting open. A blood-curdling, unearthly shriek echoed through the room, vibrating the glass windows. The shadow demon writhed in agony, and Raffi collapsed onto the floor, unconscious but breathing. Tuli didn't waste a single second. She grabbed her unconscious brother by his arms and dragged him out of the room. As she made her way down to the living room, she found her parents slumped on the sofa, trapped in a deep, supernatural stupor, unmovable. She dragged Raffi toward the main front door, but it was sealed shut as if welded into the frame. Then, from the top of the stairs, she heard a sickening sound. Thump, drag, thump, drag. Tuli looked back. The cracked clay doll was walking down the stairs on its own. Dark, thick human blood was oozing from the fracture in its cheek, dripping onto the wooden steps. Its glassy eyes were now bloodshot and burning with demonic rage. It hissed, its jaw unhinging abnormally wide. "You cannot leave. I will feast on your flesh, and I will use your bones to build my new dollhouse." The air grew so heavy that Tuli felt her lungs collapsing. Just then, her eyes fell on the small prayer altar near the door, where a brass oil lamp was still burning with a holy flame. Summoning every ounce of strength left in her body, Tuli grabbed the burning lamp and hurled it directly at the approaching doll. The moment the holy oil and fire touched the doll's filthy dress, it erupted into massive, roaring blue flames. The demon inside let out one final, deafening roar of defeat. As the doll burned, the dark illusion holding the house broke. The front door flew open. With agonizing effort, Tuli dragged her brother and awakened her parents out into the front yard, just as the entire mansion was engulfed in a raging, unnatural fire.